morning, friends. Good morning. Always enjoyed the theme from Summer 42 since I was a kid. I don't know how I liked it when I was a kid, but it's a beautiful piece. Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Congregation at White Plains. I am Emily Equanimity, your worship associate this morning. This morning, on this very, very, very warm day, we gather as a community that believes there is a unity that makes us one. All souls are sacred and worthy, courageous love transforms the world. Truth continues to be revealed, and we are all loved here and now and always. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back. We're so glad to see you all here today. We're happy you're here, no matter who you are, what you believe, where you're from, or how you came to us. It is a great pleasure to welcome Reverend Rebecca Sala to be with us today. Reverend Rebecca is the Spiritual Health and Well-Being Manager at Stanford Health. I enjoyed learning about her work as we talked about healthcare, animals, and caring for one's own emotions. She is an affiliated community minister with our friends at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Westchester in Mount Kisco. She holds an MA, M Divinity, and BCC. Rev Sala lives in Stamford, Connecticut with her husband Ron and their two cats, Aria and Root. Welcome. And welcome as well to our online gathering this morning. We ask those of you here in person to please silence your phones.
Good morning. Good morning. It is such a pleasure and joy to be with you all today. I invite you to please join me in chalice lighting down in your order of service. We invite those online to light a chalice or candle at home and read along from the order of service link. Website CUUCWP.org. Chalice lighting is from Brian Seeley. We light our chalice as a symbol of the light within us and the light that flows through the world around us. It is our beacon as we search for truth. It is the warmth in our hearts for love. And it is the energy that propels us to action. May we be kindled by our time together. My opening words this morning are from Lena Warsaw. I want to be with people. Often people say that they love coming to a place with so many like-minded people. I know just what they're getting at, and I know that they aren't getting it quite right. I don't want to be with a bunch of people who think just like me. I want to be in a beloved community where I don't have to think like everyone else to be loved, be eligible for salvation. I want to be with people who value compassion, justice, love, and truth, though they have different thoughts and opinions about all sorts of things. I want to be with independent-minded people of good heart. I want to be with people who have many names and no name at all for God. I want to be with people who see my goodness and dignity, who also see my failings and foibles, and who still love me. I want to be with people who feel their interconnection with all existence and let it guide their footfalls upon the earth. I want to be with people who see life as a paradox and don't always rush to resolve. I want to be with people who are willing to walk the tightrope that is life and who will hold my hand as I walk mine. I want to be with people who let church call them into a different way of being in the world. I want to be with people who support, encourage, and even challenge each other to higher and more ethical living. I want to be with people who inspire one another to follow the call of the Spirit. I want to be with people who covenant to be honest, engaged, and kind, who strive to keep their promises and hold me to the promises I make. I want to be with people who give of themselves, who share their hearts and minds and gifts. I want to be with people who know that human community is often warm and generous, sometimes challenging, and almost always a grand adventure. In short, I want to be with people like you.
Please rise in body and/or spirit and join me in the first hymn in our teal hymnals. Morning has come.
Dance with joy and sing a song of love. My love is so party face. We to guide our journey on. The music goes, was more the gift is here. Wonder fills this moment shared together. My body is so holy face. We to guide our journey on. Open your eyes to see the faithful rise. Open hearts to welcome it from all us. Light of love is shown, so on each face. Be free to guide our journey on.
Given what happened yesterday evening, as part of Joys and Sorrows, I want to read the statement that the Unitarian Universalist Association put out. Unitarian Universalism believes in the right of free speech and the democratic process. Attacks like those at Saturday's political rally weaken democracy, and the Unitarian Universalist Association condemns this attack. At the time when democracy is already at risk, these events will only make our political environment more precarious. As we prepare to meet this moment, we must return to our spiritual grounding and faithful practice. Take a breath, reflect together, wait for emerging truth over quick speculation. Anchor yourself in communities and relationships that foster resilience, liberation, and strategy. Cultivate nuance and seek out deep wisdom, political analysis, and spiritual grounding, as misinformation will be rampant. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition is rooted in the values of human dignity, justice, compassion, and democratic principles. We will remain vigilant in our commitment to protecting our democracy and the integrity of its principles and the rights of all of its people. Let us continue to keep love at the center. For all of these joys and sorrows, both shared and not shared, we hold in our hearts a candle of peace, a candle of hope, a candle of love, and a candle of celebration. Let us carry it gently and firmly with the knowledge that doing so draws us closer to each other and to the God of our understanding. Let us take a moment of silence.
In this faith, we cultivate a spirit of compassion, inner peace, gratitude, and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. This summer, we share half of our non-pledged collection with the Rose Center, the Unitarian Universalist Camp and Conference Center, which this year is celebrating the 100th anniversary of their youth summer camps in Rome, Massachusetts. I know that during COVID, they did have to stop for a bit, and they have now resumed. We also just learned that the Unirondack, the Unitarian camp upstate, New York, had major flooding. So they've got some docks to deal with, so these camps are always in need of some help. Through their Woodside Campership program, Rose seeks to make a camp experience available to all children, regardless of economic or cultural barriers. We are grateful to support their good works. Thank you for your kindness, your compassion, and your commitment to making CUUC and the world a better place. Your support truly makes a difference.
Before I begin my reading, I want to thank Emily, the most extraordinary worship associate I have ever worked with. This whole team of worship associates are incredible, and I thank you so much. And Barbara and Kathy, your gift of music just feeds my soul. Thank you. My reading this morning is an excerpt from Real Change, Mindfulness to Heal Ourselves and the World by Sharon Sala. I was once speaking to a group of people and said, I think that if I was in charge of the universe, it would be a lot better. Someone in the group called out, are you sure? I considered that for a moment and then firmly replied, I am really sure. But alas, one of the greatest poignancies in life is that we're not ultimately in control. Because of that, what we are looking for is the balance between compassion and equanimity. Compassion can be thought of as the heart's moving towards suffering to see if we can be of help. Equanimity is a spacious stillness that can accept things as they are. The balance of compassion and equanimity allows us to care and yet not get overwhelmed and unable to cope because of that. Spacious stillness, balancing equanimity and compassion. What does that even mean when the world feels at times quite literally like it's on fire? I have often sat with friends and pondered what kind of world we would create if we were in charge. We also emphatically believe we would make it better, kinder, wiser, more just decisions. It is much easier to do so than sitting around a table, sharing a meal, thinking we have all the answers. Reality of our world is so painful and complicated, and yet can be so beautiful that it takes our breath away. We are facing so many existential threats on top of just trying to live our lives, and it is honestly quite exhausting. I'm exhausted. There are days when the painful and complicated win. I want to curl up into a ball and watch baby animal videos with my cats for the rest of my life. In September, I will celebrate the 19th anniversary of my ordination as a minister. I have worked as a chaplain in some capacity since 2002. As a manager of spiritual health and well-being department at Stanford Health, I work with 15 chaplains and 2 massage therapists and coordinate a peer support program to assist employees during times of crisis. Most of my days are spent walking that tightrope of both hands, balancing multiple conflicting emotions all at once. I acutely feel the paradox of living in this beautiful and broken world. In the space of an afternoon, I can be called to bless a beautiful baby, surrounded by the love of her family that envelops me like a blanket. Then go meet with employees after a particularly tragic death. I'm a witness to their tears as they verbalize the guilt and grief when they can't save a patient. They go into healthcare to help and heal the people in their care. There are no words in that moment that will make it better. There is no fixing. There is holding the sacred space and witnessing their shared life. It is holy. When breaking apart its Latin roots, equanimity means evenness of mind, spirit, or feelings. However, let me be clear, this does not mean indifference. Instead, it indicates staying interested and concerned while maintaining impartiality. Instead of resolutions, I pick a word that will guide me through the year, and equanimity is my word for 2024. Because it is getting increasingly more difficult in this polarized either-or world to maintain my impartiality. I have many thoughts and opinions. Practicing equanimity gives me the inner resources I need to be able to hold that sacred space for another person and remain calm while managing all my multiple feelings about the conflicting emotions that surround me. There are many ways to cultivate equanimity. Regular practice of mindfulness meditation can help you increase your awareness and acceptance of thoughts and emotions, fostering a sense of calm and balance. This means paying attention to the present moment without distractions. One thing I started to do that has helped is I have removed all the alerts from my phone. I do not look at news or my email an hour before I go to bed or when I first wake up. Because if the last thing I see or read before going to bed or waking up is bad, horrific, and tragic, I have no control over it, I don't sleep, my day is completely transformed. Practice different breathing techniques that can help manage your stress and maintain your composure in tense situations. As I am walking all over the hospital, I practice right foot, left foot, right foot, breathe that I got from Ryder and Emma. So by the time I get to my destination, I am ready for the next thing. Practice changing your negative thought patterns and reframing stressful situations into a more positive or neutral light. And that can help maintain your emotional equilibrium. Focusing on what you can control, not the things that are completely out of your control. Pay attention to what you say or think about yourselves and others. Give yourself others grace. Stay active in a way that works for you. Whether it is taking your dog for a walk, going to a yoga class, dancing, form of regular physical activity that can help reduce your stress, improve calm emotional. And too often we focus on all the bad things that happen in the day. 10 wonderful things can happen to us in one bad thing, and we all think about it the bad thing in nature. Try focusing on what you're grateful for. That can shift perspective. A friend of mine has a gratitude jar. And every New Year's Eve, she writes something every day and then takes it out and reads everything she's been grateful for that whole year. And I've started to try that too. And it does make a difference. Find and claim your joy. I cannot tell you how many times I've been with friends and we catch ourselves laughing and truly enjoying ourselves and each other's company when we stop and say to each other, how is it possible for us to laugh and experience any joy when the world is gone? Between waging wars throughout the world, climate change, poverty, systemic racism, a broken healthcare system, and the list goes on and on and on. And then I'm reminded of social justice activist Valerie Carr, who I saw speak at the Revolutionary Love Conference at Middle Collegiate a few years ago. In her book, See No Stranger, she writes, joy is possible amid great labors. The labor of dying, the labor of birthing, and the labors between. We cannot force it. But when we create moments to breathe between labor pains and surrender our senses to the present moment, notice the colors and light and feeling of being alive, here together. Joy comes more easily. In the face of horrors visited upon our world daily, in the struggle to protect our loved ones, choosing to let in joy is a revolutionary act. It gives us energy for the long labor. Experiencing those moments of joy, hope, love, happiness, it doesn't diminish the importance of the work we do. It reminds us why the work we do is so important. We cannot continue to make a difference if we have nothing left. And there is so much work to do to repair this broken world. And we will need all of our strength to do it. What brings me joy? My husband, Ron, my my cats Groot and Arya. You know what I was watching when we name them. They bring me so much joy. Listening to them purr is my meditation. They are my home. About a year ago, the hospital invested in our greatest employee, a therapy dog, a golden retriever named Paris. He is on our social media feed every single day. And I am one of his handlers, and the joy I experience whenever a patient, a family member, or an employee meets him is indescribable. When words fail, Harrison's beautiful soul brings so much comfort. He is one of our heroes. Harrison teaches me to truly appreciate each moment. Employees who I have never seen smile, ever, turn into puddles of mush, fall down on the floor at his feet and hug him whenever they see him. It's miraculous. He is a very good boy. Another joy and miracle in my life is in April of 2017, through 23andMe, and a great uncle and a cousin I've never met without any border boundaries or emotional intelligence, I met my birthday. And the past 7 years have been a roller coaster for both of us. We made the choice to be a part of each other's lives completely. And it is both a miracle and painful, all at the same time. In September of 2020, I officiated the renewal of vows at her 50th wedding anniversary with her husband, my 2 half-brothers, their wives, and my 4-year-old niece at the time, their family and friends. I am part of all of their lives, and I thank the universe for it daily. Right now, her husband isn't doing well. And I went to visit her for a week at the beginning of June for her birthday. We came back from the hospital after a very hard day, and we were both exhausted and so very sad. She got up and gave me a diet root beer from the fridge. I then remembered that we had vanilla ice cream on her birthday. I just looked at her and said, "Root beer floats?" She got the biggest smile on her face. And I haven't had a root beer float in decades. I associate them with my childhood and going to A&W root beer. I don't know if you have them here in this area. I'm from Idaho. They roller skate to give us our drinks. And that memory, being with her in that moment, it was a true joy. Nothing changed. I couldn't fix what is happening. All the stress, fear, and grief she is dealing with right now. But in that 20 minutes, we were fully present in our joy and so grateful together. We have so much to do, and yet so much to appreciate. And I love that love is at the center of the newly formed principles and purposes, and that interdependence is one of those values. Because I have never felt the importance of this principle more than I do right now. Reverend Horace Gilmore writes in the 7 Principles in Word and Worship, our 7th principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, is a glorious statement. Yet we make a profound mistake when we limit it to merely an environmental idea. It is so much more. It is our response to the great dangers of both individualism and oppression. It is our solution to the seeming conflict between the individual and the group. Our seventh principle may be our Unitarian Universalist way of coming to fully embrace something greater than ourselves. The interdependent web, expressed as the spirit of life, the ground of all being, the oneness of all existence, the community forming power, the process of life, the creative force, even God, can help us develop that social understanding of ourselves that we and our culture so desperately need. It is a source of meaning to which we can dedicate our lives. When you think about it, faith is the ultimate paradox of them all. Alfred North, Whitehead, British American mathematician and the central figure in process theology, wrote in 1925, Science and the Modern World, about the paradox of faith. Religion is the vision of something which stands beyond, behind, and within the passing flux of immediate things. Something which is real and yet waiting to be realized. Something which is a remote possibility, and yet the greatest of all present facts. Something that gives meaning to all that passes, and yet eludes apprehension. Something whose possession is the final good, and yet is beyond all reach. Something which is the ultimate ideal and the hopeless quest. And yet, we continue to reach for that ideal in community. It is lived out here at CUUC in small and large ways as you all take care of each other and prepare for the arrival of your new minister, Reverend Danielle Lindstrom. I leave you with Sharon Salzberg's Cultivating Equanimity meditation. This is something I read every day to remind myself that I am not in control of all things. It helps me focus on the things I can control. So to begin this practice, I invite you to take a comfortable position in the chair. Put both feet flat on the floor. Ground yourself. Take a few deep, soft breaths. Let your body settle. Bring your attention to your breath to begin. I invite you to call a particular person to mind. Get an image of them or say their name to yourself. Get a feeling for their presence. See what happens as you silently repeat these phrases. Care about the I can. I will care for you. May I offer love, knowing I can control the course of life, suffering, or death. To wish you happiness and peace. It cannot make excuses for you. And then move on to consider the boundlessness of life, people, creatures. To silently repeat these phrases that express our capacity to connect to and care for all of life and us. I will work to alleviate suffering in the world and know I'm not in control. May I recognize my limits compassionately, just as I recognize the limitations of others. I remember compassion as I work to be undisturbed by the comings and goings of events. Wait for ready, rise, see if you can bring some of the sense of spaciousness and passion to your day. May it be so.
Let's sing together. Please rise, embody your spirit, and join me again in the teal hymnal, number 1028, The Fire of Commitment.
On the lifetime, please remember words of obedience, life and fear, guiding rounds and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, and our hunger and compassion bring to pour us on our way. When we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin. From the stories of our living brings us sorrow, brave and free. Calling pilgrims still to witness to the light of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and compassion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, and our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and compassion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, and our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can
Benediction is by Darcy Ho. Each of us ministers to a weary world. There is too much hardship in this world to not find joy every day. There is too much injustice in this world to not fight for balance every day. There is too much pain in this world to not heal every day. Each of us ministers to a weary world. Let us go forth now and do that which calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, and more filled with the grace of divine presence every day. Please join me now in the chalice extinguishing, words in your order of service, and we invite those on Zoom to extinguish your own chalice.
extinguish this flame, and not its meaning and mission in our hearts. Our time together has come to an end. Go in peace, be of service to one another, and may you move through the world love for all.
Thank you for being with us today. And a good worship associate has a lot of people behind her. Thank you, Audra, Marianne, Anthony, Karen, Kim, Barbara, Hans, Irene, Pam, Diane. This is what happens to get to that point where there is lemonade. I don't know how that happens, but you know. We invite those of you with us here in Fellowship Hall to stay for refreshments and conversation after service. We ask adults and children in childcare to please pick them up first. After service, you may leave your chair in place and put your hymnals back in the cart. And remember to put your name tag in the basket. It helps us keep count. Our weekly Unitarian newsletter offers many details and activities here at CUUC, so before you get swept back up into your daily routine, take a moment to discover all the things happening. It's been a gift to be here together today. May we all know blessings of community and friendship.